The morning sky over New York turned purple as the first alien ships broke through Earth's atmosphere. It was 7:15 a.m. on a Tuesday when humanity realized they weren't alone in the universe. The massive ships, each the size of a small city, cast dark shadows over the buildings below. High Commander Reed stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue planet with cold eyes. His gray, metallic uniform gleamed under the ship's lights as he gave the order that would change everything. Begin the attack. Show these primitives what happens when they draw the Council's attention. The first blast hit the Atlantic Ocean, creating waves that crashed against the coast. The second struck just outside Chicago, leaving a crater 2 miles wide. These weren't meant to kill. They were warnings, a show of force from a civilization that saw Earth as nothing more than an anthill in their path. In the Pentagon's underground command center, General Thompson slammed his fist on the table. "Get me the president now." He watched as radar screens lit up with more alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere. They appeared over every major city: London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. The pattern was clear. This wasn't just an attack. It was a coordinated attempt to force Earth's surrender. But the aliens had made their first mistake. They expected panic. They expected chaos. Instead, they got humanity at its finest. Within minutes, military bases worldwide sprang into action. Years of disaster drills and defense preparations paid off as soldiers moved with practiced precision. Fighter jets scrambled into the sky, even though everyone knew their weapons would probably be useless against the alien ships. In orbit, High Commander Reed watched with mild amusement as Earth's primitive aircraft rose to meet his fleet. "Such bravery," he said to his second in command. "Shame it's wasted on a species too dangerous to join galactic society." He had read the reports about humans, their wars, their rapid technological advancement, their ability to adapt and overcome. The Galactic Council saw them as a threat, a young race that needed to be controlled before they developed faster than light travel. Back on Earth, the President of the United States stood in the Situation Room, surrounded by advisors. The message from the aliens had just come through, a demand for immediate and unconditional surrender. "They think we're savages," she said, reading the message again. "They think we're too violent to join their galactic community, so their solution is to attack us without warning." The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. As the alien ships moved into attack position, something unexpected happened. The Earth's defense systems, the ones that officially didn't exist, powered up. Hidden silos opened in deserts, mountains, and ocean floors. Satellites that had been classified as weather stations revealed their true purpose. High Commander Reed's confident smile faded as his sensors detected energy signatures that shouldn't have been possible from a pre-FTL civilization. "What is this?" he demanded, just as the first human counterattack began. Green beams of light shot up from hidden bases around the planet, striking his ship's shields with surprising force. These weren't primitive nuclear weapons or simple projectiles. This was energy technology that, according to all Council intelligence, Earth shouldn't have had for at least another century. In the Pentagon, General Thompson allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had fallen for humanity's greatest deception. For decades, Earth had maintained the appearance of a divided, technologically limited world, all while preparing, building, and advancing in secret. That crashed alien scout ship from 30 years ago had taught them more than enough. "All bases, execute Battle Plan Delta," Thompson ordered. Around the world, humanity's hidden strength was revealed. Advanced fighter craft, reverse-engineered from alien technology, rose from underground hangars. Shield generators, powered by hybrid human-alien tech, sprung to life over major cities. High Commander Reed watched in disbelief as his first wave of attacks was repelled. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were fighting back with technology they shouldn't have had. His sensors showed impossible readings, shield frequencies that adapted, weapons that shouldn't exist, and defensive patterns that spoke of deep understanding of space combat. "Sir," His second-in-command reported, "We're detecting more human ships launching. They're using modified versions of our own technology." Reed's face darkened. The Council had been wrong. Humanity wasn't just a potential threat to galactic society. They were a sleeping giant that his attack had just awakened. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity wasn't about to go quietly into the night. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Walker stood before a massive screen showing the ongoing space battle. 30 years of secret work were finally being put to the test. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers watched as their modified alien technology faced its first real combat situation. "Status report on the shield frequencies," she called out, her eyes fixed on the data streaming across multiple screens. The crashed alien ship they'd recovered 3 decades ago had been a gift that kept on giving. Every piece of technology they'd reversed engineered from it had been improved upon, modified by human ingenuity, and the need to do more with less. "Shield adaptations are working better than expected," replied one of her team members. "The aliens can't seem to break through. Their weapons are bouncing off patterns they don't recognize." In orbit, High Commander Reed was facing the most difficult moment of his military career. His ship's advanced weapons were being deflected by shields that seemed to change and adapt with each hit. It wasn't possible. It shouldn't have been possible. "Send in the second wave," he ordered, his voice tight with anger. "Use the heavy cruisers. Let's see how their shields handle our main guns." But Earth had another surprise waiting. As the alien cruisers moved into position, hundreds of smaller ships emerged from hidden bases on Earth's moon. These vessels, about the size of regular fighter jets, were Earth's pride and joy, the Wasp-class interceptors. They combined human combat tactics with modified alien technology, creating something entirely new. General Thompson watched from the Pentagon as the Wasps engaged the alien cruisers. "Begin Operation Hornet's Nest," he commanded. The small Earth ships moved in patterns that confused the alien targeting systems. They had practiced these maneuvers for years, developing tactics that took advantage of their smaller size and greater numbers. "Impossible." Reed slammed his hand on his command console as he watched 3 of his cruisers fall to the swarm tactics. Earth's ships were moving in ways his gunners couldn't predict, striking from multiple angles, then disappearing behind debris or each other. Back in the mountain facility, Dr. Walker allowed herself a small smile. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with," she said to her team. "Show me the status of Project Thunder." A new screen lit up, showing massive cannons hidden in Earth's polar regions. These weapons represented humanity's greatest achievement in reverse engineering. They had taken the alien ship's basic defense technology and turned it into something offensive, something that could pierce any known shield. In space, the battle continued to rage. Earth's forces, despite being outnumbered, were holding their own. The alien ship's sophisticated targeting systems were confused by human battle tactics that seemed random and chaotic, but were actually carefully planned. "Sir," one of Reed's officers reported, "we're detecting strange energy readings from the planet's polar regions." Before Reed could respond, massive beams of blue-white energy shot up from Earth's surface. The blasts caught 2 of his largest ships directly in their shield generators. The energy didn't just penetrate the shields, it used them as a conductor, turning the ship's own defenses against them. General Thompson watched the alien ships explode with grim satisfaction. "Send the message," he ordered. Across all frequencies in every language Earth knew, and in the alien language they'd learned from the crashed ship, the same message was broadcast. "This is Earth's formal response to your unprovoked attack. We are not the primitive species you thought we were. This is your only warning. Retreat now." In the mountain facility, Dr. Walker brought up the final project she'd been saving. On her screen, hundreds more ships sat ready in underground bases across the planet. Ships that combined the best of human and alien technology. Ships that represented humanity's determination to survive. "Should I begin launching the main fleet?" she asked General Thompson over their secure line. "Not yet," Thompson replied. "Let's see if they're smart enough to take the warning. If not." He let the sentence hang. High Commander Reed stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was either destroyed or damaged, and Earth was still launching more ships. The humans hadn't just prepared for this day. They had spent decades getting ready for it. The real question now wasn't whether Earth could defend itself. The question was, what else were they hiding? Commander Davis stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Thunderchild, watching the stars through the main viewport. His ship, along with 30 others, was hiding in the dark side of Mars, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The aliens still didn't know about this fleet, and that was their biggest advantage. "All ships report ready," his second-in-command announced. "The alien fleet is still trying to regroup after their losses." Davis nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing High Commander Reed's damaged fleet. The aliens had withdrawn to a higher orbit, but they hadn't left. Their pride wouldn't let them retreat completely, not after such a humiliating first encounter. "Begin Operation Ghost Strike," Davis ordered. "Remember your training. Fight like humans, not like them." The Earth fleet powered up, their engines modified to run nearly silent. Years of submarine warfare had taught humanity the value of stealth in space. The aliens, used to fighting with overwhelming force, had never needed to develop such tactics. In his flagship, High Commander Reed was trying to understand his situation. "How did we lose so many ships to a primitive species?" he demanded, pacing the bridge. His officers had no answer. Nothing in their intelligence reports had prepared them for this. Suddenly, alarms blared across his ship. Multiple contacts. His sensor officer shouted, "They're coming from behind Mars." Before the alien fleet could react, Earth's ships struck. They didn't attack in the organized battle formations the Council used. Instead, they fought like ancient sea raiders, striking from multiple directions, causing chaos and confusion. "They're not fighting fair," Reed raged as another of his ships reported heavy damage. The human vessels would appear from nowhere, fire devastating shots at critical systems, then disappear again, using Mars and space debris as cover. Back on Earth, General Thompson and Dr. Walker watched the battle unfold. "Commander Davis is proving that old tactics still work in space," Thompson said with pride. The battle plan was based on centuries of human naval warfare, updated for three-dimensional space combat. Dr. Walker pointed to a particular reading on her screen. "Look at their shield frequencies. They keep using the same patterns. They never expected anyone to study and counter them." The battle in space turned into something the alien fleet had never seen before. Earth ships would split up, then come together, creating patterns that confused the alien targeting systems. They used small drones to make it look like there were more ships than there actually were. "These humans fight like madmen," Reed's tactical officer shouted as another attack run scattered their formation. The Earth ships weren't just firing weapons. They were ramming through their lines at high speed, their modified shields letting them slice through the alien formation like knives. Commander Davis smiled as he watched his plan work. "Commence Phase 2, he ordered. His ship, the Thunderchild, led a direct charge at Reed's flagship, but this was just a distraction. While the aliens focused on the charging ships, smaller vessels slipped through their lines. These ships carried Earth's best computer experts, ready to hack into the alien network. They had spent decades studying the computer systems from the crashed ship, looking for weaknesses. "Sir," Reed's communication officer called out in panic, "we're losing control of our systems. The humans, they're inside our network." The virus that Earth uploaded was unlike anything the Council had seen. It didn't try to destroy their systems. Instead, it showed them something that shook them to their core, evidence that the Council had been lying to everyone. As alien ship after alien ship lost power, their crews saw the truth on their screens. Documents proving that the Council had been holding back technology from lesser species, proof that they attacked developing civilizations that showed too much promise. "Send the final message," Davis ordered as he watched Reed's flagship drift powerless in space. Across every alien ship, on every screen, the words appeared in their own language. "This is humanity's counterattack. We're not finished yet." In the Council's main city, thousands of light-years away, urgent messages were being sent. The simple, primitive species they had tried to crush wasn't just fighting back. They were winning. And they were doing it in ways that no one had thought possible. The real war was just beginning. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was in chaos. The massive chamber, designed to hold representatives from 1,000 worlds, echoed with angry shouts and demands for explanations. News of Earth's successful resistance had spread faster than anyone could contain it. Ambassador Wilson, Earth's newly appointed representative, stood calmly at the speaker's podium. Just 3 days ago, she had been a diplomatic translator. Now she was humanity's voice in the galaxy. Behind her stern expression, she could hardly believe what she was seeing. Aliens of all shapes and sizes, arguing like an angry town hall meeting. "The Council demands order." The chief speaker's voice boomed through the hall. But the damage was done. The leaked files from Earth's cyber attack had reached every corner of the galaxy. Every species now knew how the Council had been keeping them down, preventing their advancement while claiming to protect them. In a private chamber off the main hall, Council member Bright Eye, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, spoke quietly to Ambassador Wilson. "We have been watching Earth for longer than you know," they said, their crystal body pulsing with each word. "Some of us disagreed with the attack on your world, but we were overruled." Wilson's eyes narrowed. "You knew about us, about our true capabilities." "Not everything," Bright Eye admitted, "but enough to know that humanity deserved a chance. The old guard, led by High Commander Reed, saw your potential as a threat. They couldn't understand that different didn't mean dangerous." Back on Earth, General Thompson was reviewing reports from across the galaxy. The virus they had uploaded to the alien fleet had done more than just disable their ships. It had cracked open the Council's secret communications. Evidence of their crimes was pouring in. "Look at this," Dr. Walker said, pointing to her screen. "They've been experimenting on developing worlds, manipulating their evolution. They call it guided development, but it's just another form of control." In orbit, Commander Davis and his fleet watched as more ships arrived, but not to attack. These were representatives from other species, coming to see the world that had stood up to the Council. Some even brought their own evidence of the Council's corruption. High Commander Reed, now under guard on his powerless flagship, watched with growing dread as his world crumbled. "You don't understand what you've done," he told his human captors. "The Council maintains order. Without us, the galaxy will fall into chaos." "Maybe it needs a little chaos," Davis replied. "Maybe that's how real progress happens." In the Council hall, more revelations were coming to light. The Council had been secretly collecting advanced technology from all species, claiming they were safeguarding it. In reality, they were making sure no one species could grow too powerful. Ambassador Wilson stood again to address the hall. "Earth proposes a new way forward," she announced. "Not control through force, but cooperation through trust. We've proven that different approaches make us stronger, not weaker." To everyone's surprise, more Council members began standing up, joining Bright Eye in support of Earth. They had been waiting for a chance to change the system from within. Now, with humanity's bold resistance showing the way, they had their chance. "The old Council is finished," Bright Eye declared, their crystal form glowing brightly. "We must build something new, something better." General Thompson received the news with a mixture of hope and caution. "Keep our forces ready," he ordered. "Just because we're winning the political battle doesn't mean everyone will accept change quietly." He was right. In distant parts of the galaxy, supporters of the old Council were already plotting. But they had underestimated humanity once. Earth's fleet, still in orbit, and now joined by allies from other worlds, stood ready. Dr. Walker's team had already begun sharing some of their innovations with their new allies. "It's amazing," she told Thompson. "Every species has a different way of solving problems. Together, we're already creating technologies that none of us could have developed alone." The galaxy was changing. The old order was falling. And humanity, the species that was supposed to be conquered, was helping to build something new from the ashes of the old Council's corruption. The massive holographic display in Earth's combined command center showed thousands of red dots approaching the solar system. The old Council loyalists had gathered their forces, determined to crush the rebellion that Earth had started. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. "They're done hiding," General Thompson said, studying the display. "This is their full strength." Around him, officers from 24 alien species worked alongside humans, coordinating their combined defense fleet. Dr. Turner, who had recently joined Dr. Walker's team, burst into the room. "We found it," she exclaimed, holding up a datapad. "The flaw in their shield design. We finally found it." In space, Commander Davis watched as friendly ships from across the galaxy took positions alongside his fleet. The Thunder Child had become a symbol of resistance, and now ships of all shapes and sizes gathered around it. Some were massive crystal structures built by energy beings, others were living ships grown by organic civilizations, and many were conventional vessels like Earth's. "All ships, report in," Davis ordered. One by one, the fleet commanders responded. They had half as many ships as the enemy, but they had something the Council loyalists didn't: unity in diversity. Each species brought their own way of fighting, their own technology, their own tactics. The enemy fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a display of overwhelming force. Leading them was the Council's supreme warship, the Starhammer, 10 times the size of any other vessel. Its commander, Grand Admiral Stone, was known for crushing rebellions across the galaxy. "Surrender now," Stone's message boomed across all channels, "and your worlds will be spared. Resist, and we will make examples of you all." In the council chambers, Ambassador Wilson stood with Bright Eye and other rebel council members as they watched the confrontation unfold. "They still don't understand," Wilson said. "They think quantity beats quality. Numbers beat innovation." "Now," Dr. Turner shouted in the command center, "the shield frequency. It repeats every 3 minutes. There's a half-second gap when they shift patterns. If we hit them with everything at exactly the right moment." General Thompson smiled. This was what humanity did best, finding the small weakness that could bring down a giant. "Send the attack plan to all ships," he ordered. "Every species, every weapon type, coordinated perfectly." The battle began with the Council fleet advancing in perfect formation, just as they had done for thousands of years. Their weapons filled space with energy blasts, projectiles, and exotic particles. But the combined rebel fleet didn't meet them head-on. Instead, they scattered like leaves in the wind, using tactics from 100 different military traditions. Crystal ships phased through enemy fire, organic vessels regenerated damage, and Earth's ships darted through the chaos like arrows. "They're not fighting properly." Grand Admiral Stone raged as his perfect formation began to fall apart. "This isn't how space combat works." But it was working. The rebel fleet's seemingly random movements were carefully planned. They were counting down to the perfect moment, the shield frequency gap that Dr. Turner had discovered. Commander Davis watched the timer on his display. "All ships," he broadcast, "prepare to fire on my mark. Remember, accuracy matters more than power. Hit their shield generators exactly when we planned." The timing had to be perfect. Thousands of ships, each with different weapons, had to strike at exactly the same moment. It was like trying to get 1,000 musicians to play a single note in perfect harmony. "Now," Davis ordered. Space lit up as every ship fired at once. Energy beams, projectiles, plasma bolts, and weapons that defied human understanding. All struck the enemy fleet at precisely the same instant. For a split second, their shields were shifting frequencies. That's all it took. The mighty Star Hammer shields collapsed, followed by ship after ship in the Council fleet. The coordinated strike had worked perfectly, proving that different species working together could achieve what none of them could do alone. Impossible, Stone shouted as his flagship systems began to fail. He had never imagined that so many different species could work together with such precision. The battle wasn't over, but everyone watching knew. This was the moment everything changed. The old Council's reign of uniformity and control was ending, brought down by the very diversity they had feared. The great halls of the Council's central archive burned as rebels stormed the building. Centuries of secrets were coming to light, and they were worse than anyone had imagined. Among the first through the doors was Dr. Walker, accompanied by both human and alien scientists. "Over here," she called out, finding a sealed room filled with glowing data crystals. These contained their research records. Her hands moved quickly over the alien controls, downloading everything she could. Each crystal revealed darker secrets about the Council's true activities. In orbit above the Council's homeworld, Commander Davis watched from the Thunderchild as more Council ships surrendered. The battle had broken their fleet, but the real victory was happening in the archives below. "Status report on the ground teams," he ordered. "They're finding everything," his communications officer replied. "Genetic experiments, banned weapons, proof of sabotaged civilizations. The Council wasn't just controlling the galaxy, they were reshaping it." High Commander Reed sat in his cell aboard the Thunderchild, watching through a view screen as his world collapsed. "You don't understand," he told General Thompson, who had come to question him. "Everything we did was to maintain order, to prevent chaos." Thompson placed a data pad in front of Reed, showing images of failed experiments on developing worlds. "This isn't order," he said quietly. "This is fear. Fear of anything different, anything you couldn't control." In the archive building, Dr. Walker found something that made her blood run cold. "General," she called over the comm, "you need to see this. They didn't just find Earth by accident. They've been watching us for centuries, manipulating our development." The files showed how the Council had secretly interfered with Earth's history. They had supported certain leaders, undermined others, all to try steering humanity toward becoming what they wanted. Just advanced enough to be useful, but not enough to be a threat. But it backfired. Ambassador Wilson said, reviewing the files in the Council chamber with bright eye. "Every time they pushed us down, we came back stronger. Every obstacle made us more determined." The evidence kept mounting. The crashed alien ship that Earth had reverse-engineered, it hadn't crashed by accident. It had been sent by a small group of rebel Council members who had seen the corruption growing and wanted to give humanity a fighting chance. In his cell, Reed finally broke down and revealed the Council's greatest fear. "Your species adapts too quickly," he said. "You take technology and change it, improve it. No other species does that. We give them advanced technology, and they use it exactly as we tell them. Humans make it their own." More Council members were surrendering as the truth spread. The perfect, orderly galaxy they had tried to build had been a lie. Their experiments had hurt countless species, all in the name of control and stability. Dr. Walker found the most damning evidence in a hidden sub-basement. Stasis pods containing preserved specimens from hundreds of worlds. The Council's attempts to create the perfect, obedient species. Some were still alive, trapped in suspended animation for centuries. "Get medical teams down here now," she ordered. "And bring translators. These people deserve to know what happened to them." The Council's mighty citadel, which had stood for 10,000 years, was now filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Species that the Council had kept apart were meeting for the first time, sharing stories of how they had been controlled and manipulated. General Thompson stood with Commander Davis, watching as Allied ships from 100 worlds surrounded the Council homeworld. "They wanted to prevent chaos," Thompson said. "Instead, they created exactly what they feared most, a galaxy united against them. In the archives, Dr. Walker uncovered the Council's first law, written millennia ago: guide, but never control; help, but never rule. Somewhere along the way, they had forgotten their own wisdom. Now, as their empire crumbled, the galaxy was finally ready for something new. The Great Hall of Earth's new United Galactic Assembly was filled with light and color. Unlike the old Council's dark, imposing chamber, this one was built with transparency in mind. Literally, its crystal walls allowed the sun to shine through, and its open design welcomed representatives from every known species. General Thompson stood at the entrance, watching as alien diplomats arrived for the first official gathering. 6 months had passed since the Council's fall, and the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had imagined. Quite different from our first contact, isn't it? Commander Davis said, joining him. The Thunderchild was now permanently stationed above Earth as a symbol of the revolution that had changed everything. Its scared hull told the story of the battles they'd won. Dr. Walker and Dr. Turner had transformed the old mountain facility into the galaxy's largest shared research center. Inside, scientists from 100 worlds worked together, sharing their knowledge freely. "Look at this," Dr. Walker said, showing a group of visitors their latest project. "By combining crystal technology with human computing, we've created something entirely new." In the assembly chamber, Ambassador Wilson stood at the podium, ready to open the first session. Beside her was Bright Eye, whose crystal form glowed with anticipation. The chamber was designed so every species could participate comfortably: water tanks for aquatic beings, anti-gravity areas for floating species, and special environments for energy creatures. "We gather here not as rulers and subjects," Wilson began, her voice translated instantly into thousands of languages, "but as equals. Earth doesn't want to replace the old Council. We want to build something better, together." High Commander Reed watched the broadcast from his rehabilitation center. Like many former Council leaders, he was learning to see the galaxy in a new way. "I still don't understand," he told his human guard. "How can you maintain order with so much freedom?" "That's the point," the guard replied. "We don't maintain order. We let it grow naturally." The evidence of this new approach was everywhere. Trade between species had exploded as artificial barriers fell. Worlds that the Council had held back were developing at their own pace, guided but not controlled by more advanced civilizations. Earth's approach to technology, adapt, improve, share, was spreading. Commander Davis received a message from one of the patrol ships. Another Council loyalist fleet had surrendered, seeing the benefits of the new system. The message came from a young alien officer. "We want to learn your way of thinking, your way of changing things." In the research center, Dr. Turner was demonstrating Earth's latest innovation, a shield system that could adapt to any weapon type. "But here's the important part," she explained to her alien colleagues. "We're not keeping this secret. Every world gets the plans, and every world can improve it in their own way." The Assembly's first major decision was to establish the Galactic Knowledge Exchange. Unlike the Council's restricted archives, this would be open to all. "Let knowledge flow like water," Ambassador Wilson said, quoting an old Earth saying. "The more it spreads, the more it grows." General Thompson walked through the assembly hall, remembering the day the alien ships first appeared over Earth. "We could have just fought them off and stayed isolated," he told a group of alien military leaders. "But humans have always wanted more than just survival. We want to explore, to learn, to grow." As the day ended, the Earth's sun set through the crystal walls, creating rainbow patterns across the chamber. Representatives from former enemy species sat together, planning joint projects. Worlds that had never spoken to each other were forming alliances. "This is how it should be," Bright Eye said, their crystal form reflecting the sunset. "Not perfect order, but perfect growth." The galaxy was entering a new age. The old Council had feared chaos and change, but Earth had shown that these were the sources of true strength. As ships from 1,000 worlds moved through the solar system, each carrying their own dreams and ideas. One thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same. And humanity, the species that was meant to be conquered, had instead become teachers, showing the galaxy a new way forward, not through force or control, but through courage, innovation, and the simple human belief that everyone deserves a chance to reach for the stars.